19-year-old.
Modernism was
very glad to be in Los Angeles right now as an art maker, as an artist.
I'm in the studio of McLean Fahnestock in Chinatown in Los Angeles, and McLean, my very first question for you is, what was modernism?
I like what was modernism. That's interesting. I was expecting what is modernism. I like what was modernism because that really explains how I feel about it.
Right.
Like it's a was, this past notion, and I actually had to go back and do a little bit of thinking because I haven't thought about modernism outside of architecture or design. I haven't really thought about it since school, and which is kind of funny because it's a lot of my work. The actual source, the beginning of it, is a really modernist thing. So modernism to me is, and it's that movement away from, first the church and the getting away from a patron and into this art for art's sake kind of idea, and then moving into formalist critique, which I feel is kind of like a problem that we're held on with, that's kind of the remnant of modernism, that they were railing against an academic idea, and now modernism is our academic idea that we have to fight against. So I guess modernism to me is that it is there's a language of color and a language of aesthetics that we've kind of learned and taken as the language of art. And for if that's a good or a bad thing, I think it might actually be a bad thing that's kind of our language when talking about painting, especially. But that goes into every part of art. I think there's the big question about if it was a failed experiment, and I don't know that it was a failure, but I do feel that that it really illustrates that cyclical idea of culture of the avant-garde that becomes the academy, that then spawns a new avant-garde that spawns a new academy, and so I think maybe now we're 3 circles out from it, but it still has it has become the tradition as much as the Renaissance was the tradition for the avant-garde. So that's my idea.
Your work, certain aspects of your work, I think, definitely deal with modernity.
Mm-hmm.
They deal with
modernity. Yes. And the space program, as an example, that idea of space exploration is really a modern idea. It's hopeful. It's got this kind of utopic big dreams of space and Jetsons and so, but then the reality of the space program is kind of is what I'm dealing with a little bit more. So that you've got that base of, isn't it amazing? Look at what we can do, and we can explore space. And then, my piece, Grand Finale, which is about the end of the space shuttle program, kind of that deterioration of that dream and that idea into an ending, and then even further than that into a commercial solution to this project that was government funded and was so much about that time, the 50s, what we always think about as the beginning, the right stuff, the astronauts. So now it's a commercial pilot.
Yeah, because if you think it starts, really, I suppose, the space race starts with Kennedy, doesn't it, in the early 60s, and it was aspirational, it was all about post-war, post-war aspiration.
Right, yeah. It was, the building of America as this great power, which is definitely something that I've kind of I've been commenting on and working with throughout even some of my earlier videos where I'm dealing with like journalism. It's still America as this as the the American dream. Anything can happen. Look what we can do. And the space race was of course kind of propaganda just as much as any post-war propaganda could be. And I think that it was such a part of us as a nation that losing it was sad, but it didn't have the impact that I'd expected. I'd expected that coming from a place of like this was what we were doing to show that we were awesome. Mm-hmm. We're on the moon. You're not on the moon, and that was our claim. And now I don't know if there's of course budgetary, but I don't know if that's just we don't have that same strive. It's fallen out of favor, and I don't know if for some reason it's kind of starting to feel old hat.
Yeah, it's lost its resonance in a way. It's popular kind of resonance.
Completely. And I thought that was really interesting to me. When I heard that the space program or the shuttle program was ending, that's when I decided to make that piece. Because I was amazed. How could this thing that really defined America for a generation and a half, how is it that just could end and it wasn't seen as important? And I grew up wanting to be an astronaut. I was, you do the whole like, where were you when the Challenger blew up? And I was in 4th grade. I was home with the chicken pox. And I remember it. And so many people they remember it, and then the shuttle just became something that happened. Oh yeah, it's going up again, okay. And I thought by bringing it all together, creating a media experience, kind of making it impactful again was a part of my idea. And I don't know if I did that. I don't know if it still has the same kind of weight that it did at the beginning of the program, but I think it's really a comment on the way that we as a culture kind of let things fall away and like that
and also I
entropy
suppose consume the images of it too.
Oh, completely.
Because the first launch, I remember watching that too. It was such a big event. It was delayed as they usually are.
Yes. Delayed. But yes, we just started to think of it as that's just something that we do. It's something that happens, and it kind of maybe with regularity lost its impact, or because I don't even remember there being a big fanfare once we started launching again. And I think it really speaks to just us, to our culture, and how we kind of expect, we have expectations of things being great and amazing every single time, and then once it gets to be routine, we just kind of lose interest and we're looking on to the next great and amazing thing. And I don't know if that's purely American or if it is just human nature. I can't really, I'm American, I know the American thing. So, but I'm really interested in that. I'm interested in how things can be so astounding, and then the next year, yeah.
And the work in itself is visually it's a spectacular work, I think. I think one of the one of the interesting things watching the work is we're aware of two of those missions being failures as well. And you can see one of the failures quite clearly in one of the frames as you're watching it.
Yeah, I think that was important, an important aspect of the work, because obviously I wanted to show that failure, but I also wanted to show how much happened after. That failure's in the second row, and it's like the top corner. There were 110 approximately launches after it. So, but again, like we're focused on that one failure, and that's been an interesting thing watching people watch that piece, because the first time they watch it, and then they realize, oh, that's supposed to happen. Where is it? And then they'll watch it again and really focus on the failure. So it's another one of those ways that we, as people, approach things. You can have 134 successes. Well, okay, what would it be? 132, and then you have two failures, and then those are the ones that are remembered as being kind of the marks of the entire program.
And you went to Florida to see one of the...
I went down to Florida, yeah. And that's a crazy, amazing thing. Just what you really don't know what it takes until you've been there and seen the engines and how big and kind of how small sometimes. Like you feel they have that building where they stand everything upright to put it all together, and you're in that building and it's so vast that
the vertical assembly
building. It's so big that you've lost all sense of your scale and its scale, and it looks like.
Because it was made for Saturn V's, wasn't it?
So it's made for ridiculously large things, and that's a really amazing part of going down to Florida and experiencing it, and something that I think we miss out on, because we're used to seeing the one image, the one video shot from NASA of this event, and it's like, oh yeah, this happens. I think it speaks to me about making sure that I have experiences, and that's something I want to do just personally, and if that comes across in work, then that's a good thing.
Because that was one of the questions I was thinking about as well. When you go to Florida, I went down for the same launch that you saw, and I missed it because
because they're late, because the shuttle has its own time.
Yeah. I think there was like a patch of cloud or something like that.
I know. They were really, and of course, as they should have been, really, really careful about things. But,
absolutely.
But we're like, just launch it already.
Yeah, launch it. I'm
here. What are...
One of the things that struck me, because I remember doing the tour and seeing the vertical assembly building, and the I think it was the Endeavour was there sitting on the launch pad ready to go, and the scale, the sense of because it is such a large landscape, the sense of presence of being there, it's very effective. What you don't get, I think, in the launch images is that sort of thing. Tell us a bit about how you experienced that launch and the gap, perhaps, between that and when you actually experienced it.
I think that one of the things that the tour guides told us was do not look at your camera. Don't look at your phone. Don't be focused on, and that's how we're so used to absorbing images through a lens, that's the first thing we do is hold our phones up. And she's like,
you go to rock concert.
You're gonna miss the entire thing. You're not gonna know what you just saw. Just set it on a tripod and look and watch. I thought that was really interesting. And I actually had a couple of, for the next launch, I found some art students in Florida, and I had them actually film people filming the launch. because I thought that was so interesting.
It's interesting because I think it's almost as if we've been so used to over the decades watching things mediated. It's now when we even see things live, we want to
mediate them. Yeah, I find it completely fascinating. And so I hired a couple of students to go down for the last launch, which was Atlantis, and film people filming the launch. So because I haven't done anything with it yet. It's there on my drive. It's just to watch these people kind of follow the shuttle with their phone instead of.
And are they looking at the phone?
They're looking at the phone. And the power is maybe like you're saying, the scale is so big and the landscape is a little strange, and we had to be. I can't remember how far away, but we were like 10 miles away. It doesn't look like it because it's flat swamp and there's nothing. And they said that they had to, all the vehicles have to drive away because if you are within so many 100 feet of the launch, that you'll die because of the sound.
The shockwave,
Just the shockwave. And that was like, oh my God, that's nuts. How did they figure that out? Which is probably not a fun day for somebody.
Yeah.
But that scale is something that we just can't wrap our heads around. And and that's why I think the lens comes in so handy. Oh, I'm used to seeing it like this, and
so it's a way of miniaturizing and capturing it.
It's a way of containerizing, whatever, containing. It's a way of containing things, and I think that is that's what we want to do, is put things into a box that we can keep, but also that we can kind of we can examine it and maybe understand it a little bit better if it's here instead of there.
Because it becomes something we can. This makes me think of. I've recently been writing this book about Sean Gladwell. And one of the ideas that I've used from the theorist Judith Butler is this idea of the frame. She talks about that in warfare as being, it's not just literally the frame, it's something that allows us to kind of understand and contain things and determine what is representable.
Yes, and I think that is something that now it was something that scientists and photographers and cinematographers were doing. Now it's something everyone does every day, hundreds of times a day. Let's contain it in this frame. Let's put it into, especially with social media and just we all have really powerful video cameras and phones, and they're all in our pocket at all times. So
we've all become producers.
We've all become producers and consumers of content, but we also are now all we are now all one step removed from anything that happens to us. If we choose to take the phone out, then accidents, and how do you choose if you're going to act in a moment, or if you're going to record in a moment, and who are you going to be at that time?
I was thinking like that recent event that happened in New York with the guy who fell in front of the train.
Yeah.
The photographer took the photo
instead of and that's and that's where I find video as a media for art very interesting. That because of the way that it has kind of just taken over our lives, the way that we integrate ourselves within culture, the way that we take in things, the way we put out things, that it is a pencil now. And even to where the pencil has become